CBS News senior political analyst and 60 Minutes correspondent. There he is, John Dickerson. Hello. John Dickerson was up late last night. So thank you, John, for getting up early with us. I know you were up covering the convention last night. I was watching you guys.
Let's start. Good to be with you, Gail.
We're always glad when you're here. Let's start with Michelle Obama, because it seems like she certainly has set a very high bar when it comes to energizing the party. You know, they didn't call her the closer for nothing back in the day. She started out at some point in the speech where she said, "I hate politics," and then proceeded to give a very political speech, which is out of character for her in terms of tone, content, and the delivery. A lot of people, I was looking at it last night, I heard it described as elegant shade. What did you make of it?
Well, as I understand how shade works, you have to be a little less direct than she was. I mean, this wasn't so much shade as it was actually, it felt like to me, a huge spotlight right on what she says is the problem, which in her very clear and direct words is the incumbent president. They have to do three things at this convention, and she did all three. One is energize the base. She basically said, get out and vote immediately. Democrats are very worried in this COVID election that they're going to have trouble voting and getting out the vote. That's always a challenge for Democrats. It'll be more of one in this race. The second thing is define the turf of what this election is about. They want it to be about character and the response to both COVID-19 and the racial discussion we're having in America. And David Axelrod used an expression that I think was useful, which is that character has a cost. In other words, it's not some abstraction. Michelle Obama made the case that Donald Trump's lack of empathy and character has a cost in terms of American lives. And then the final thing is testimony and witness about Joe Biden, which she did in talking about what she knows in the personal Joe Biden. That's what they're trying to do all week, and she did all three of those things.
Yeah, it seems that even the Republicans were saying that Michelle Obama knocked it out of the park last night. But what do you make of this virtual convention? Do you think it delivered? I think it's so hard to have these kind of events with no audience when you're so propelled by the audience applause.
You know, when we talk about this, people think, why are we so obsessed with the way it looks and the theatrics of this? Well, because what conventions do, at least in the modern age, is use the theatrics as a kind of freight train on which they put the message. And that's to energize the base. It's also to speak to undecided voters and also try to put the opposition in a box. So how it comes across matters. And I think that obviously they were wrestling with that. What we will see is whether a speech like Michelle Obama's, which was clearly the highlight of the night, gets passed around in social media and on YouTube and the rest of it. And if that's the case, then it does what a traditional convention tries to do. There are all kinds of internal things they're trying to do, too. You know, Bernie Sanders' speech was a message of unity for his supporters, a kind of narrow casting there. Handing the microphone over to regular people was a nice touch in terms of trying to speak to that unity message. So there were some nice attempts to do what you would normally do in a convention, but I think the real question is, how does it live on afterwards in the social media world to see if it really has any effect that's long-lasting?
In past conventions, it seems that they would highlight rising stars. In this particular convention, when you look up the lineup, they're going back to a lot of the, I don't want to say older leaders, but past leaders. Do you think that that's intentional?
Well, it's partially because they have limited time, I think it is intentional, but also, you know, part of it is Gail, there's not. What happens when those rising stars come on is sometimes not everybody's looking, and then suddenly everybody notices the reaction that's happening in the room, and then they become a rising star. I'm not sure that everybody knew that Barack Obama in 2004 was going to light up the arena the way he did. It was only until the arena lit up that it kind of gained a certain momentum. So one of the challenges this year is it's hard to have a rising star who gives a speech in this constrained format.
Yeah, very good point.
Yeah. Hey, John, I got a question here. I want to jump in on unity. Every candidate has to pull together the different wings of the party, but the wings in this case, in this year, are pretty far apart. And we saw that with a Democratic socialist, Bernie Sanders, on one side, but then you also have a Republican governor in a Democratic convention in the form of John Kasich. What does that gap signal to you?
you know, usually they're trying to build unity and they're just grabbing duct tape and just papering it all together for the moment and hoping it sticks. What struck me about Bernie Sanders' speech this time was that it was a full-throated endorsement of Joe Biden, set the stakes for his own supporters who might not like Joe Biden, but it's made the case for him and said basically the stakes are too high for you to sit out. And that was in stark contrast to his 2016 speech, where you could almost hear the grinding of his teeth as he was making the case for Hillary Clinton, which overstates it a little bit, but it was nothing close to this. In terms of the disparate nature of the unity message that they were sending, I think it's one of the things that the Democrats want to emphasize is the idea that Joe Biden represents a kind of old-timey unity, which means reaching out to the other party, which means representing or at least listening to diverse viewpoints. And part of what they're trying to do is build an appetite for something that hasn't been on the menu for a while, which is this idea of unity. I don't think it's going to be a huge lasting impact, but it is part of what they're trying to do, which is define the turf they want this election to be on. Their argument is Donald Trump has done everything to keep the country ununified, and they wanted to have a kind of tableau of unity. And in that case, having everybody from John Kasich to Bernie Sanders suggests that kind of broad unity.
All right, John Dickerson, as always, good to see you. My dentist, Dr. Messiah, says it's not good to grind your teeth, so they need to stop doing that. Thank you. Thank you, John Dickerson.
Thank you, Gail.
Bye.